Are AirPods Max too hot? Is Apple's financial health just right? This is MacVoices. This edition of MacVoices is supported by Factor. Visit factormeals.com/MacVoices50 and use the code MacVoices50 to get 50% off. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. This MacVoices live session wraps up as the panel discusses an AirPods Max problem that may not be a problem, and what one analyst thinks of Apple's financial health and whether he's right. Let's go back and let the panel do the talking. I'll tell you what, let's shift to something very Apple specific. There is a claim that oh shoot, that's the wrong one. Excuse me. In the current chat room, I'm sorry, or in our chat room. Let me throw this one. This is the one I want to go to first. Condensation is killing your AirPods Max. Jim, are your AirPods Max dying?
I saw that article. I have not seen the. I have not seen that phenomenon.
I mean, how humid is it? They're out there at Apple Park.
Yeah,
they apparently are.
Oh, we've had
we have hurricanes and everything here, so
pretty damn humid sometimes.
But I do have air conditioning, so I haven't run into that. I haven't heard other than this article. I mean, I know a lot of people with AirPods Max. I'd never heard of this before, so I don't know.
Yeah. God.
I mean, that article was like saying the water was dripping inside. Like, I don't know. Let's see.
You have to disassemble your AirPods part way to be able to see if there's moisture in them. Apparently.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have to tell you, when I saw this, and I do not have a set of AirPods Max, but I do have a set of Bose Quiet Comfort, and I will say that under more than just a very limited set of circumstances, I can definitely find my ears getting hot inside those things if I'm wearing them for a protracted period and want to take them off and let my ears cool off. But I never even considered what any condensation might be doing to the inside of those headphones. Now, they're still working, and I've never had an issue with them. But I admit it made me stop and think a little bit. And so, Mark, I know you said spam bait in our private chat. I'm not so sure the concept is spam bait. I do have to wonder about the reality of the situation, though. It seems like you would have to be wearing these things for a long, long time every single day to start having that kind of issue. Ben?
Well, the thing about this, reading the article, it's not during normal use. This was during exercise.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, which exercise is why I own these. My Beats on-ear headphones do not leave the house because, quite frankly, they are not designed for that kind of operation, as the AirPods Max are not designed for that kind of operation. If you're using your AirPods Max to exercise, you're using the wrong tool for the job.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So judgy.
Oh, I agree with that. It's, I mean, those headphones, you get very sweaty very easily, and any headphones. Honestly, they're over the ear headphones, but these specifically, what you pay for them. Do you really want that to happen?
Yeah. And
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say one of the places you perspire most is your head.
For as much as AirPods Pro cost, I wouldn't want to exercise in them. And I know I'm just echoing what you just said. So I'm giving you validation that those are not headphones for exercise.
Jeff, not just that, but from the expense standpoint, but even from just the fit. I mean, they're going to go flying off my head if I'm doing anything reasonably active. I'm trying to picture someone running in a set of AirPods Pro. I guess you could, or excuse me, AirPods Max, pardon me. I guess you could. I guess you could bike with them. But yeah, it just, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like that would be your first thought as a use case for these things.
Well, I also wonder, it's so easy to take the cover off of them and look inside, whereas most over-the-head earphones, it's not so easy. Like I also have Bose, and I actually replaced the pads on my Bose recently, and it was pretty difficult to do. I didn't even know you could do it at all, but you can, and you can buy a new set. But it's not something that you would do casually, whereas you just saw it, with the AirPods Max, it's really easy to pop it off and look inside. So maybe this is happening with all kinds of over-the-head earphones, but it's just with AirPods Max, it's very easy to open it up and see what's going on.
I thought it was interesting just because I think it's conceivable. I don't think it's a widespread problem. Folks, if any of you that have AirPods Max out there, I mean, Jim has given us his real world assessment, but we'd love to hear yours if you're having anything like this. And not just from a malfunctioning standpoint, but, just from a comfort standpoint. Do you find them that you're using them for exercise and that your head, your ears, or your whatever is enclosed by the AirPods gets extra hot?
Chuck, now I'm curious. What would you possibly be thinking would go into the cup other than your ears? Just based on the way you phrase that, saying your ears or whatever, is it?
Jeff, I was not referring necessarily to the cup. I was just referring to, I guess, to your head getting warm or hot.
Oh, okay. I was just picturing you wearing headphones in a really weird way.
Sketch it out, Jeff, and we'll put it in the show notes. No, don't. Wait a minute. What am I saying? No.
I can do it.
Yeah. Mark?
Yes, I would point out, I think, there's probably, more incidents of people have problems with, their different in-ear, AirPods of whatever sort, getting gummed up with earwax, or the stems, collecting dirt or finger oil or things, so that when you put them back in the case, they don't mate and recharge fully. I suspect, incidents of cases like that are probably 10 to 100 times, if not more common than, people having problems with condensation while exercising, wearing their AirPods Max.
Matthew in the chat room makes a great point. Anyone using over-the-ear headphones to be outside exercising or running is horrible for situational awareness. And that is
it's got transparency mode.
Yeah, but still, I mean, I know how well transparency works on the AirPods Pro that I'm wearing, but I don't know how well it works in the Max. I would think probably at least as good, if not better.
It works great.
So you would be comfortable riding a bike or being in a potentially crowded situation while wearing those with transparency mode on?
I don't know about a bike, but I'm not sure if you should be wearing any kind of anything that's making noise in your ear on a bike.
Also, over-the-ear headphones like AirPods Max, you can't wear a bike helmet and the headphones at the same time.
Yeah, right.
Good point.
I noticed that iMore article has 0 comments, so no iMore readers chimed in to say, "Oh yeah, I've got this problem."
Well, to be fair, I don't know who started this. I pulled the iMore article as the one that kind of caught my eye, but I saw several of them out there. Now, whether they were just quoting each other or not, we've all seen that. So,
like we're doing.
Well, yeah. I saved the one business story for last, and I'm throwing it into the chat rooms now. That is that according to this article on AppleMost, Apple was growing in the right places for Morgan Stanley as far as what they're doing from a business perspective and for the long term. And I thought this was really interesting, given some of the gloom and doom we've heard in the last few months over the iPhone supercycle or lack thereof, the innovation or lack thereof that the new iPhones are seeing, and all this, that somebody's finally wrote what feels to me, and I admit I'm imprinting my own opinions here, but it feels to me like a bit more of a balanced long-term article instead of just the crisis of the month. And I was curious to see if anybody else had a chance to read this and if they are in agreement with that or with the article or have just radically different feelings.
Well, I actually agree with this. If you look at where Apple is making money these days, they're diversifying. They're putting a lot more into services because, well, things are maturing. Cell phones last a lot longer than they used to. Same with iPads. And when those device cycles are no longer the steady 2 years and are drawn out, if you're going to be making the same money, you got to be making it elsewhere.
Unlike a lot of companies that don't seem to have a secondary plan.
Yeah.
Apple telegraphed this a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Cook said that, and actually I think other C-suite executives were echoing this too, that they know that there is a finite lifespan for all of their products. Now, that lifespan may be measured in decades, but there's a lifespan. So they're always looking for ways to diversify and ensure that they remain healthy and grow. And so it's about finding all the right places to grow so that they don't end up, excuse me, with the same problem many other companies have had, where all their eggs are in one metaphorical basket. And when sales start to decline, they aren't prepared to transition into something else that can boost their revenue back up.
See BlackBerry.
It's like you read my mind, Ben.
Wow. Eric?
Apple's hardware has been getting better and better as far as lasting. And that people used to think that was a bad thing because people then weren't turning around and buying new hardware. But with their extension of AppleCare coverage, so that at the end of your AppleCare term, you can start adding on month by month, means that all of the people who aren't quite ready to upgrade to a new phone can keep their phone operational, have the security of knowing that they still have coverage, and Apple is just picking up income off of all of those phones and keeping the phones in good shape so that when they get turned in, they can just get resold. So it's pretty much a perfect storm of Apple services. Then they've been expanding it more and more with laptops and the phones and watches and all the other devices. It's just really good. It's, nice hardware. And a way to just tack on a little extra income revenue at the end of a product lifetime, right when you would think, oh, you're not going to get anything.
Brian?
I was thinking too, especially in those areas that are still growing, subscriptions or perceived to keep growing, the Apple services. I think there's some behavioral conditions too that are connected to it as well. I think, with building habits of wanting to take advantage of some of the services that Apple provides that we subscribe to, whether it's iCloud storage, and the inertia of not wanting to switch providers if we want to switch to something else as a competition, or even the habits that we have of daily exercise with Fitness Plus, or the shows that we watch on Apple TV Plus. It's people don't want to change. You have the habits, you have things that you like. Makes sense, even if you don't have the new hardware necessarily, to continue the subscription models.
This edition of MacVoices is supported by Factor. Visit factor.com/MacVoices50 to get 50% off. If you're looking for something new and exciting for dinner this fall, but don't have the time to go to the grocery store, then come home and chop, prep, and then clean up, you need to know about Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit. Factor lets you choose from over 34 weekly flavor-packed, fresh, never-frozen meals ready to eat in just 2 minutes. Just pick your meals and they show up at your door, fresh and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. Looking for calorie-conscious options during the busy season? Try delicious dietitian-approved calorie-smart meals with around or less than 550 calories per serving. And with Factor, you can feel good about what you're eating. Factor is dedicated to sustainability. They offset 100% of their delivery emissions, source 100% renewable electricity for their production sites and offices, and feature sustainably sourced seafood in their meals. Right now, head to factormeals.com/MacVoices50 and use the code MacVoices50 to get 50% off. That's code MacVoices50 at factormeals.com/MacVoices50 to get 50% off. Thanks to Factor for their support of MacVoices. Warren Buffett has often been quoted as saying that Apple is the best-run company he's ever seen. And things like this make you agree with that, or at least tend in that way, that they aren't looking, they aren't falling into what seems to be a very American thing of looking at just the next quarter. And if the CEO can't make the next quarter profitable, we'll fire you and find somebody who can. Apple seems to look out and for years, if not longer, and put things in place that it's a good investment and it pays off years later. And it usually pays off with pretty high dividends. Mark, Ben, go. Sorry.
Apple's unique that they take care of the shareholders by not listening to the shareholders.
I want that on a T-shirt, Ben. I like that. Mark, you've been kind of quiet, and I was expecting you to be the first one out of the gate. Any thoughts on this?
Yes, I do have some thoughts. So, I read the article, and I have a whole bunch of thoughts. So, in no particular order. And if people think, if people have a comment, you just interrupt me, because I don't want to turn this into a long, verbal essay. But I guess the first thing that seemed to me was this guy who wrote the article, Eric Woodring. It seems like he's ninth in the top 3 Apple analysts talking about this. So I mean, there are other analysts out there who've been basically saying the same thing. There's Darian Yanni, there's Daniel Ives of Webbush. There's the guy escapes me for the moment. The Mr. Apple TV guy, Gene Munster, yes. Who I think have much better track records. And they're all, I think, dialed into this. The thing when I was reading the article, I was thinking, okay, what is new here, and what is he saying that can help me judge the quality of his thought? And he was basically saying, well, the iPad sales and Mac sales are down, but that's okay, because what really matters is it seems like maybe iPhone sales are going to pick up, with the new, iPhone release this fall. And then he started to pile on and say, well, okay, Apple can monetize it through services and things. But, he really didn't provide, much, new or, other information, so it just seemed to me it was sort of like a Me Too article. And, since I had never heard his name in almost anything, in Apple context, I decided to look him up. And, there's a site out there called tipranks.com. And, for listeners or viewers, what it what that site does is it tracks, financial analysts and others who make predictions, and it ranks them. So looking at the Eric Woodring's rank, he's rated 8,014 out of 8,527 analysts. So, by any means, that's certainly not a top quartile, performer. He's near the bottom of the heap in terms of the quality of his analysts. If you look at his overall results in the past year, he's had a 49% success rating. The gain on an average investment he's made over the past year is a loss of 10.6%. So I contrast that with somebody like Daniel Ives, who's rated 121 out of the same pool of 8,527 analysts. So, this guy is definitely, I think, in the top 2 or 3%. And his average gain in the past year is 16.5%. So I bring this up. Why? Because we want to get information that's interesting and objective. We don't want information that feeds the so-called confirmation bias that reinforces the way we think about the world. And this guy is great because the way we think about the world matches with him. Great minds think alike. But I think I was expecting him to say something more about Apple valuation and how it's basically had very little growth in the past year. There was absolutely nothing there. There was a lot of this, hand waving about, as iPhone sales pick up, all this other stuff is going to pick up, in tandem with it. And, that may be true, but we have to actually see, what happens. To me, one of the most interesting things about the article, and I hope everyone gets a chance to click on it and read it, is he was making an assertion that, relatively speaking, Apple was underowned by institutional investors compared to, and there he was sort of, non-specific about other institutional investors. But, so I did a little bit of checking with Investors Business Daily, Mark Smith, that, Apple, funds own 29% of its shares. Relatively low. If you look at something like Meta, funds own 47%, or Microsoft 41%, or Google or Nvidia are also at 41%. So yes, he has a point. Relatively speaking, it is underowned by funds. What does that mean? Well, as everything with Wall Street, the answer is it depends. And we've talked here back in July. We all know Apple hit an all-time high, for a couple of weeks, and now it's come down, it's corrected like everything else in the stock market. What will happen in the future? We don't know, but we do know we're coming into another iPhone release cycle. Will this release the mother of all upgrade cycles? I don't know. I've been hearing that, predicted for, the past, 5 to 8, maybe 10 years. And every year Apple seems to do well. And it seems to me what they've done best is exploring higher and higher price points, rather than, triggering, an avalanche of iPhone upgrades. So to me, it was a very thought-provoking article. I just wish, Mr. Woodring, had a better, successful investment, track record. Because, based on his performance, I don't think anybody should make a investment decision based on his article.
Well, maybe this is the start. This is where he starts his big run. I don't know. Guys, we're pretty much at time, so okay. I'm going to call it tonight. And I'm going to go around the room, let everybody reintroduce themselves, and let folks know where they can contact you if they have thoughts on your thoughts. And I want to flip it around this time. In fact, I'm going to flip it really weird. And I want to start with Eric Bolden. Eric, where can folks find you?
At the moment, EA Bolden at techhub.social. Next time, I will have more because I've been playing with a bunch of other social sites, and it's kind of interesting. So I will add addresses next time.
Great. Great. Yes, I know. I've been seeing you pop up on different sites, so I'll be anxious to hear your take on some of them. Jeff Gamet, thank you for being here as always with your apparently, as based on the chat room, deep knowledge of the TV show Bosom Buddies.
I am full of surprises.
You really are. You really are. Where can folks find more of your surprises?
Oh, we're not after dark yet. Okay. Okay, Chuck, when I'm not writing new theme songs for MacVoices Live, on social media, I'm Jay Gamet, Mastodon and Instagram. That's where I'm posting most of my stuff right now. Then shows here, because you keep letting me come back on Tuesdays. Then Thursdays, Dave keeps letting me come back on In Touch with iOS. And then Thursdays also on the Big Show for the British Tech Network, and then Fridays on the Mac Show. And then Brian Chaffin and I record the Context Machine.
Great. Thanks so much, Jeff. Appreciate it. Mr. Mark Fuccio, thank you so much for your commentary and wisdom. Where can folks connect with you?
Oh, I actually have a new place. I'm trying Blue Sky. So for people out there, I'm Mark Fuccio at Blue Sky, and I must admit it's kind of a lonely place, just sort of my experience with Mastodon. But for more lively things, you can find me at X, FKA Twitter, at Mark Fuccio, MarkFuccio, all lowercase, all together, or at LinkedIn.
Great. Thanks so much, Mark. Ben Roethig, thank you for showing up and doing this again one more time. Where can folks connect with you?
Well, Chuck, you can find me at the ever-expanding list of social networks of your choice at Ben Roethig. You can always find me on my website, roethig.tech. There's been a little bit of a summer lull, but that should be picking up soon here. And you can also find me at all the shows that Jeff mentioned, except for the Context Machine.
That's on you, Ben.
I know, man. I know.
Thanks, Ben. Jim Ray, the only man with AirPods Max, and they're not even sweaty. Jim, where can folks find you?
The only man on this show with AirPods Max.
Well, yes, that's kind of obviously. Where can folks find you?
Let's see. You can find me on the web at provue.com, PROVUE, and on Mastodon at ProViewJim at techhub.social. Thanks to Chuck, I'm on Blue Sky, also ProViewJim, but I keep forgetting that I'm on Blue Sky. So if you send me a message there, good chance I won't see it. And maybe I'll go check it right now. But we'll see how that goes. Thank you, Chuck.
Quite welcome. Thank you for being here, Jim. And maybe next time we'll all do some comparisons of our social network experiences. Brittany Smith, the lady who has more Star Wars gear than the rest of us put together. Where can folks find you?
Well, do you count Lego? Because Jeff might have me beat.
That's a good question. Chuck, do we need two separate categories?
Maybe so. Memorabilia versus... no, that's what we'll do it. Well, we'll work on the categories later.
Lego and everything else.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
Britt, where can folks find you?
Mastodon is a reasonable place. ADD Liberator. Occasionally I'll get a whim and post there. I did join Blue Sky. Thank you, y'all. But I haven't connected with a single person yet. But the same screen name as everywhere else, ADD Liberator. That's also where you can find things on YouTube. I made a very small amount of iOS 17 videos based on my beta experience this summer that will be coming out when that does. And, other places, ADD Liberator, I try to do some things. It works.
Right.
You have 3 followers on Blue Sky, including me.
I do? I didn't know.
And me.
Maybe I need to turn on notifications.
Well, now you have 4 because I'm following you now.
Oh, cool. Now I know who to follow. It's all the people following me.
Oh, yeah, she does have 4 now.
Yes.
Okay, so
There we go.
Breaking news here on Mac Voices.
yeah, so
Now I know.
Brittany, I think we did this before with your YouTube channel. So, folks, if you're on Blue Sky, go right now and follow Brittany, and let's get her up to triple digits. Do it.
Or two.
We're almost halfway to double digits for you, Brittany.
Yeah. Almost as many followers as I do. I've got 6.
Well, I mean, if you followed me, then I'll know where to find you. So it'll be perfect.
And all of them except one are on this call.
That sounds about right.
This is turning
what I
into a
expect from
weird
Blue Sky.
competition. Brian Flanigan-Arthurs, thank you so much for being here. Where can folks connect with you?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure. A few places to find me. Mastodon, Brian8944 at mastodon.cloud. And then also Blue Sky. So also Brian8944, as well as X, formerly Twitter. Also Brian8944.
Great. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Last but absolutely not least, David Ginsburg up in the corner of my screen. David, where can folks find you? And thank you so much, as always, for being here.
Thank you, Chuck. And anybody can find me is at In Touch with iOS, intouchwithios.com. YouTube channels, youtube.com/intouchwithios. I'm on the Mac show on the British Tech Network on Fridays. Most social medias, I'm at DaveD65, Blue Sky, Threads, the X, and all the other ones, Mastodon. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, David. Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is Mac Voices Live. Again, Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are. You can join us live in the chat room. The chat room has been insane tonight. I just finally had to give up because it was scrolling so fast. So thank you to everyone who showed up and was contributing in there. We also had a few more viewers than we typically had tonight, in fact, for most of the show. So thank you all for showing up and checking it out. If you can't join us, these shows do get lightly edited and then put into the Mac Voices feed later, so you can still be part of the live experience. It's just not quite the same as being able to throw things in and heckle us and find out what TV shows Jeff is watching or is pontificating about. We'll be back next time. As always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with Mac Voices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.